Um, okay, so I mean, we're talking to Lee Camp. He is right on time to talk about his new book, his comedy special out now. They're both out now. He has been praised for his unique ability to tear our political establishment to shreds. American comedian, writer, and activist, host, and co-creator of the hit comedy news show Redacted Tonight with Lee Camp. That's on RT America. He's taken a lot of shit for that. We could talk to him about that too if he wants to. Former headline writer for The Onion, former staff writer, a humor writer for Huffington Post. His 2018 stand-up special, Not Allowed on American TV, was, it got rave reviews, let me tell you. He also has a podcast where he co-hosts called Common Censored. Great name. Every time I think all the good names are taken for podcasts, somebody comes up with another amazing one. Lee, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. That's my crowning achievement, the name of that podcast.
Yes, I think so. I was going to put that first, but so your latest book, let's talk about it. What did you want to convey?
Hold on. We got to back up and let everyone know that we've known each other for years and used to do stand up in New York together in the 2011s and the 2012s and stuff.
Right.
And,
pre-baby days.
Yeah. So I want everyone to know the history.
Yeah, I think I did a Jewish holiday at your place, even though I'm not Jewish, which I really appreciated.
I only vaguely remember that, but okay.
What? I didn't make a lasting impression with the matzah and whatever. I don't even remember what we did, but it was fun. I enjoyed it. Yeah, we've done it. Yes, true. You want to be fully transparent here, and yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah. Let's talk about the book, though. I have some clips I want to play of your comedy from your stand-up special, but let's start with the book. Oh man.
Well, Bullet Points and Punchlines is the name of it, and it's covers a lot of topics. Covers the $21 trillion unaccounted for at the Pentagon, which is kind of important that people don't want to talk about. It covers how Wall Street's a Ponzi scheme, and the chapter that's really important right now is it leaked out 2 years ago, but people aren't talking about it now. Is that a Goldman Sachs internal analyst memo to investors told them not to invest in cures because there's not enough money in it. They want them to invest in treatments. Basically, do not cure disease because we won't make enough money from it. And here we are in this situation now. I'm not sure if that played a role. But
you would think. I mean, you've got chapters in here. The Pentagon can't account for $21 trillion, and no, that's not a typo. Another one is, I know which country the U.S. will invade next. The top 4 times Americans have been lied into war. Do you have like the next one that you predict in that chapter?
Well, in that chapter, the top 4 times, I go over the Spanish-American War, where we were lied into that war. Of course, Iraq with the WMD, and Vietnam. A lot of people don't know that the Gulf of Tonkin incident never really happened. And Defense Secretary McNamara, now former Defense Secretary, actually admitted in a 2000 and whatever documentary that they were firing at storm clouds. There was no attack in the Gulf of Tonkin, and it led us into Vietnam, or was used really to get into Vietnam. And then I also go over the Syrian chemical attack, which now we've seen, despite all of the mainstream media crap, we've now seen multiple OPCW whistleblowers, I think it's up to 4 maybe, have come forward and said that their report did not say there was a sarin attack or whatever. And some great journalists like Robert Fisk and Pilger were saying and Seymour Hersh were saying this at the time, but no one was listening to them because it didn't fit with the mainstream corporate narrative of let's bomb Syria.
Yeah. Well, have there ever been any wars where we haven't had a whole bunch of lies that, maybe it wasn't just one big lie, but just like a whole bunch of surrounding lies to prop up our entrance into those things?
Well, it turns out that these other, usually smaller countries don't want to get obliterated by the United States because we spend 40% of all military spending in the world is the United States. So therefore, they choose not to do things that would provoke war with the United States. And therefore, in order to get into these wars that we want to be in, wars of choice, we have to manufacture stuff and manufacture consent Apparently it's just a standard tactic they use now. They're
We're very
trying to
good
go.
at manufacturing consent, but we cannot manufacture N95 masks or Q-tip swabs. So there's a real
Exactly.
problem here.
One of the few things still manufactured right here in the good old United States is consent. So.
So your last, or at least I hope I watched the most recent one, but one of your most recent Redacted Tonights was about artificial intelligence, and you have a chapter in the book, Artificial Intelligence May Destroy Humanity by Accident, but it won't apologize. Can you talk about where we are in terms of AI and the surveillance state? You did it so eloquently on your own show, but I think we need to bring it over here.
Yeah, so people like I also did a show recently, and this connects on the shock doctrine and how our wealthy elite who run the show and see nothing but greed and profit. They use a crisis like a pandemic, like Katrina, like various hurricanes and various crises around the world. They use them to get what they want. And right now, they're using this pandemic, which is killing so many people, to do a variety of things. And one of those is to try and push a greater surveillance state. It's not just, in this case, it's not just a crisis in the US, it's around the world. And many countries are doing this, the UK, and many are trying this. Basically, oh, well, we need to surveil everybody in order to stop the pandemic. And as Edward Snowden said, okay, well, if that's true, do you think they're going to give back whatever rights they give themselves right now? Do you think after and they're already, monitoring phones and things, but once they're tracking every man, woman, and child and your contacts and everywhere you move, do you think they then say, oh, okay, pandemic gone, we're done with that surveillance? And people don't realize the power that is in our data. It just keeps getting worse. They have not stepped back one bit after Snowden's revelations. And all these Democrats in the Congress who claim to be the resistance, they're giving Trump a dictator's toolkit of surveillance, of war, of military, and they never once say, hey, maybe this is a bad idea.
No, but do we have some advocates up there?
In Congress?
Yeah. Is there anybody up there?
I think there's two. I think there's
you got
two
AOC, right? I'm sure she's not going to surveil the shit out of us.
Yeah,
we're all putting all of our eggs in the AOC basket.
No, I don't think you can, and it really comes down to money. She's one of the few that was able to beat the money against her in her election. But in general, anybody who is actually standing up for the people and standing up for the rights of the people is going to be, they're going to be bought. The other side's going to be bought out against them, and it's just going to be too powerful. They're getting outspent 10-1 or something.
In your book, you have a number of chapters about climate change. Mainstream media is lying about the California fires. We have less than a second left. Media never mentioned the number one cause of climate change, but you do mention the number one cause of climate change. Could you mention it here? And then let's talk about the blowback that you received from being like one of the 4 truth tellers we have left in the country. We have some. You don't see them on TV.
Yeah. They will not be televised.
Mm-hmm.
The number one cause of global warming emissions is actually animal agriculture. It beats out cars and things like that. So, and I'm not saying that needs to be every story. Obviously, burning of fossil fuels and everything is needs to be talked about a lot. But so should animal agriculture, and it is never mentioned. Your corporate airwaves are so heavily advertised. Or whatever, the meat industry buys so many advertisements on them that they're never going to criticize it. They're never going to say perhaps we shouldn't be, eating as much meat. We shouldn't be executing millions of pigs and cows a day. I mean, it's just insane the levels we've gotten to. And now we're seeing with the pandemic that many of these pork factory farms, disgusting places where animals are raised their entire lives inside a cage they can't turn around in, those are shutting down because of the pandemic. And Trump is declaring, no, they must go to work and risk their lives because we want bacon on our bologna, on our roast beef, on our chicken, on our turkey. Like, it's not that everyone needs to be vegan, but can we cut it back a little? Can you?
Yeah, really. Come on. Can we cut it back a little is the way to go. That's really interesting. I think I'm just thinking about like, what would America do if we actually told them in large scale that eating meat is a major cause of climate change?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of these things where it just takes some getting used to. We saw how quickly people can change if they need to. We saw how quickly people have changed their lives. I'm not saying everyone's happy about it, but quickly people have changed their lives to deal with the pandemic, and we're not all going to restaurants and things like we used to. And it happened very quickly. So it's like change can happen. It's just that people have to be told, hey, this is important. And instead, because they're selling fucking ads to Arby's, they're not, it's never on there.
It's so much better to talk with you about these things than like listen to someone yell. Like you really need the sort of the perspective that a comedian and a satirist can actually bring. And I love the fact that you have reclaimed, just by the work that you do, you have reclaimed what it is to be a comedian. It's not just dick jokes about your boyfriend's circumcision or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like the real thing.
It's very true. I wish there were more comedians still talking about the stuff you and I do. I mean, there are definitely some great ones out there, but I'm surprised there aren't more. However, obviously, we're covering important information, and you see that again and again. And
well, we know why there's not more, because there's a 2-drink minimum in a club, which are all closed now. So I don't know how this is going to work out. They need to sell. If you smack the people in the face with, the fact that capitalism is a problem, they might walk. And, comedy is a business. We all know that.
Yeah, that is true. That is.
But you've been very successful, still doing what you do. So.
Yeah, I mean, but it wasn't it wasn't like, I'm kind of the exception that proves the rule in certain areas. I mean, my college touring, I did a lot of college touring, and it all ended after I was on Fox News and called them a parade of propaganda and a festival of ignorance. And then those colleges.
But that was my favorite. That was my favorite of your appearances.
Those colleges would look online, would Google me and find that as the first clip, and then choose not to bring me to their college. So really, you lose a lot of work by talking about these things. So yeah, I understand why it's not the easiest thing to do, but it just seems too important. Oh, but what I was going to say is some comedians have made, really broke a lot of stories. I mean, our friend Katie Halper put out the interview with Tara Reid. That is now.
Yeah, she was on here not too long ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And then another friend of mine, I haven't talked to him in a few years, but Hannibal Buress brought down Bill Cosby. So right? Comedians can be powerful.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you for that nice reminder. It makes me feel good about what we're doing here. So you have gotten a lot of flack from places like the New York Times and even from, your colleagues, comedian colleagues, for being on RT. Can you talk about what that was like for you during the whole sort of Russiagate, what shall we call it? Russiagate investigations?
Well, hold on. Are you saying someone's criticized me?
Oh, you hadn't heard? We played all the criticisms of you before you got on, so
good,
we just thought to make you feel comfortable.
Good. Yeah, I mean,
RT is their funding is
right. So
Russia, right?
So yeah, they're a Russian-funded channel. And when I was deciding whether to do Redacted Tonight or not, I basically came down to there's not enough time to wait around for the perfect network. Anywhere that will allow me to talk about endless war, to talk about the trillions dumped into killing innocent civilians overseas, to go after corporate America, not in one little Walmart joke here and there, but actually actively go after the most powerful influence on all of our lives, I will be at that network. And they're the only ones that have ever offered. And the other ones have no interest in having someone go after the corporations that rule our lives. Or
they went out of business. Remember Current TV? That seemed promising until he sold it.
Yeah. Current TV seemed slightly promising until he sold it to Al Jazeera and pocketed $100 million himself. Al Gore did.
If he really cared, I'm sorry, Al Gore doing work about climate change, but if he really cared about climate change, he would help us win the media war, which he was doing until he sold that shit. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Al Gore is I think he's making himself a lot of money in this whole game. But
he's gonna need it to buy an underground bunker and a flight on Elon Musk's flight to the moon.
Helicopters, yeah.
Anyway, I cut you off. Go ahead.
But yeah, I've never. A lot of people want to think that somehow by being at RT, as is Chris Hedges, Jesse Ventura, Larry King, used to be Tom Hartman, Abby Martin. They think that we're somehow censored or something. I've never been censored. I've never been told what to say. I've never been told not what to say. And whereas you compare that to someone who works at MSNBC, and many people have come out afterwards and revealed how much they were censored, such as Ed Schultz, such as Rick Sanchez, such as Melissa Harris Perry, who was on Democracy Now! Talking about how they censored her endlessly. They wouldn't let her talk about the Beyonce Super Bowl halftime show because it was Black Panther inspired outfits. I mean, it's incredible censorship at these other networks, whereas I am not censored. And so that is why I do what I do. And of course, it's very threatening to the New York Times, to NPR, to all the people that have attacked me. It's very threatening to them that someone can go after corporate America, go after the endless war, go after, talk about the abuse of workers and the abuse of average Americans and not be censored. And so what their response is to just attack me and, make up lies about me. The New York Times article had to retract multiple points out of their article because they can't write about a comedian without lying. So.
Oh boy. One of the problems or one of the benefits of your work is that you can, even though you attack Democrats and you attack the system, you continue to attack Trump. I get a little frustrated with some of our beloved leftist comedians who have decided that attacking Trump is not a big deal, is not necessary, because maybe they think that we all know that he's horrible. So let's just make sure everyone knows how horrible the Democrats are. That frustrates me. And it also concerns me because I believe that on some level, maybe not, war and hawkishness and foreign policy, that if Hillary Clinton was in, we would have nasal swabs right now. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I don't know that Hillary Clinton would have been any better. I mean, she very well might be in a hot war with Iran right now. So we don't know how many.
But nasal swabs.
Yeah, but if you're talking 100,000 people killed in Iran, that's not, nasal swabs are not, to me, equivalent. But anyway,
that's good. People want to know how you feel about this stuff.
Yeah. No, I think that you have two incredibly corporate Wall Street parties that agree on 90% of the structural issues of our time. And of course, I continue to go after Donald Trump. I mean, he is a megalomaniacal man-child who can't read a complete sentence off a teleprompter. This is a not bright, very wealthy, greed-based human being, a sociopath like so many of the others. But I don't think we'd be any better off because Obama bombed more than any president had ever bombed until Donald Trump, and Obama deported more immigrants than had ever been deported until Donald Trump. So it's not that we should celebrate the other side. Instead, we need to realize what is the problem and actually diagnose it correctly and actually get angry about that, rather than just saying it's red team or blue team. I mean, these people agree on 90% of the structural issues of the entire country that is exploiting everybody, destroying our environment. It's collapsing down around us, and you can't sit here and be like, oh well, if we just voted blue, that would have fixed it all. No, it wouldn't. It would have continued our journey off the cliff at a slightly different angle of pursuit. It just wouldn't have solved it. And so, people need to understand that, and they need to get angry at a system that is exploitative, a system that is collapsing our environment, rather than just team red, team blue.
Yeah, well, hopefully they are now. I think 4 years and almost 4 years, Trump has really revealed both how the Democrat, both really just the reality of the system and what's going on here. I think people are sort of up off the couch. A lot of people who weren't up off the couch 4 years ago who just thought Hillary would get in and we'd be fine and we'll just move on with life as usual. But people are aware that there is no more life as usual. I think maybe not, a ton of people, but enough. This is my thoughts, and I'd like to hear your thoughts about it. Josh Fox was on the show the other day, and his thoughts are that we need to vote, and we need to vote for Joe Biden, and that we need to push him. And that kind of echoes my sentiment. What are your thoughts about that? Do you think we should just people should not participate in electoral politics? And how would that get us to where we want to go?
I think people very much need to not see electoral politics as the answer. I'm not saying don't vote. I actually think people need to vote in such numbers that they swamp what's stolen. I mean, we've seen these primaries stolen against Bernie Sanders in a dozen ways that I could list right now if you really want to spend the time.
I think our people know.
Yeah.
We're on Act, we're on Twitch.
And then the general election is equally stolen. I mean, the Democrats have some things they attempt to do, but in general, there's mass voter suppression and election theft. On the Republican side, you have Greg Palast has just revealed in his new book that 17 million Americans have been purged just due to residence changes that are basically fake residence changes. They send out a postcard, they don't get it back, they purge them from the voter rolls. 17 million. So if people actually give a crap, they would be talking about that until they're red in the face. I mean, Hillary Clinton lost Michigan by 10,000 votes, and 17 million Americans have been purged, mainly Black and brown people and young people. Like, it's horrific. And you don't see it much on your mainstream airwaves. You don't see it much from the Democrats, I think largely because they don't want us asking about our election system, because then we start asking about the primaries and which they rig every time around. So it's just horrific. I think that people need to not view electoral politics as the answer. I think they should keep voting. But if that's all they're doing to change this world, to actually stand up for things and make a difference, then we're already screwed. It's already too late, because as my co-host of Common Censored, Eleanor Goldfield, says, voting should be like wiping your ass. It's something you do. You don't get a high five afterwards. It's just behaving appropriately in society. Don't look at it as changing the world.
Yeah, and then you have to also take a bath in order to stay clean. You can't just wipe your ass and be done with it. You gotta, do the rest of the stuff you gotta do.
If you gotta take a bath after taking a dump, then you might have other issues. But
there's no toilet paper in this town.
Okay, fair enough.
Lee, this is so great. So you have a stand-up special that's already out, right?
So the stand-up special has been out for over a year, but I just made it free. So that's why
that's what I meant.
That's why people have gotten excited about it. It is free at leecampamerican.com. It's called Not Allowed on American TV. And it was taken.
I've got a couple of clips. Would you mind if we play some of those clips?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, sure.
That'd be great. So this one is called, where's this one? It's called Illegal versus, wait, no, let me get the right one. The Illusion of Control, one of my favorite spots from your place. Hold on a sec. Do my screen share for everyone on our Twitch channel. And by the way, if you're watching on Facebook and if you're watching on Twitch, I'm going to be taking your questions for Lee after we play a couple clips and he gets to talk about the stand-up special. So get your questions ready and label them questions, because that helps me, because there's a lot of scrolling information in front of my face. Okay, let's play this clip.
Numbers, we swamp what's stolen. We just fucking flooded.
Oh, a commercial, Lee.
Strangely, I learned a lot about creativity from someone who is very different than I am. A man named Steven Tyler, who happens to be the...
At least it's masterclass. That's pretty good.
That's the only way that we can win this. I mean, it is amazing. It is tremendous. And again, this is the same social engineering problem. That how much mainstream media, corporate media, did it take to never mention that, to act like our computer voting machines are not a problem for us to accept that shit. You cannot see in the machines. You can't see the code, the proprietary code owned by corporations. And they're like, oh, we can't show it to you. You have no idea whether your vote is actually counting. And most of our country is fine with that? Are you fucking kidding me? Could you imagine? Could you imagine if the last 10 minutes of the Super Bowl, they turned off all the cameras, sent everyone home, and finished the game. And then at the very end, just a ref came on TV and said, Patriots won. Nice. This country would be on fire. We would lose our minds. It'd be like an angry Mardi Gras, just like furious tits flapping down the street. It'd be like Armageddon.
I love it.
But instead, it's just our presidential election and all of the elections. So it's fine. Fuck the Super Bowl if it were a Little League game. There would be refs' heads on sticks, all right?
Awesome. Fabulous. I love it.
Thank you. Thanks for playing it.
No problem. Where did you record it?
That was at El Rey Theater in Los Angeles. The opening act was a man named Jimmy Dore.
I'm familiar with Jimmy Dore. Yep.
Yeah.
Went on a show.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, did 2 nights.
How are you gonna do comedy? I mean, you already have sort of a Lee Camp comedy empire with the podcast, the Redacted Tonight, the Moment of Clarities. How are you gonna do though, like the stand-up part of why can I not see you? There you are. The stand-up part of what do you see on the horizon for theaters and stand-up now that we can't all get together? How convenient.
Listen, that is something I am completely unsure of. I don't know what's going to happen with stand-up comedy. We obviously used to tape Redacted Tonight with a live audience. I would love to get 10 or 20 people back in there, but I don't know. It could be a while. So
it could be a while. How sad?
I'm not sure.
I know, but it's good for us. Who are already, I'm watching like Stephen Colbert do comedy to a no audience, and he doesn't know how to do that.
I know, it's
really lame.
It's good for us who have experience with 3 people in a nightclub. Yeah.
Well, that, but also like, how do you make something that's funny for YouTube or funny for the home audience without just being, where the home audience isn't just a voyeur of what you're doing in front of a main audience. That's something you've been doing with Moment of Clarity. That's something,
right.
I've been doing, some of the other folks have been doing, so they should call us because.
Right. I also think it's easier if what you're talking about is important. And, when you're talking about, politics and the state of the world and what's going on with our environment, our society, I think, it feels like Redacted Tonight doesn't lose a lot just because there's not someone laughing there. Whereas if your show was purely based on, making fun of celebrities, then it feels a little awkward without the audience.
Yes. Well, I have another clip of your stuff. Do you mind if I play it? I think we've gone out slightly over the time that I asked you to come on. Do you have anything else to do today?
Sure. You can play one more clip, although everyone's got to agree that they will then go watch the full thing at leecampamerican.com.
Yes. Why would anyone not want to do that after seeing the clip? It seems very...
I agree.
So which one should we play, Lee? I've got We Don't Need Police, and I've got Illegal versus Legal. What's your favorite ones?
Ooh, let's do We Don't Need Police. That'll fire people up.
Okay. So anyway, if you have thoughts and questions, put them in the Twitch channel or the Facebook page, and we'll get up on that. Oh, this is fun. And this is where it's a little different than live performance, where you just push the button and it goes. All right, here we go.
Here's another one. We don't need police.
It's like death staring at you when you look at a camera.
At least it's like,
it's
art.
kind of scary.
It's an ad.
We don't need police. I want to get rid of police. Well, let me clarify. I'm not a crazy person. I don't want to get rid of all
Lee, did you want to say something?
I said hit full screen.
Oh, yeah.
police. I want to get rid of 99% of police. All right, just 99%. Because think about it. There is no reason that, like, the guys that, deal with a terrorist situation are the same ones that tell you your taillight is out on the highway. That makes no sense. Like, if we as a society decide we want people to tell you if your taillight is out on the highway, then let's have taillight observers. And their job is to tell you when your taillight's out. And they'd wear a little orange vest, and they'd have little scooters, and they'd come up, and they'd say, oh, your taillight's out. And they wouldn't have guns, because that would be bananas, all right? There's no fucking reason for them to have guns. They're just dealing with taillights. And no one would shoot the taillight observers because that'd be bizarre. They'd be like shooting your mailman or a dog walker or something. No one questions the fact that, the people we call to deal with an axe murderer in our neighborhood is the same ones you call because your neighbors have the music too loud or what. Like guys with guns, trained killers show up to deal with a Bruno Mars ditty that has gotten out of hand. It's like calling a dude with napalm and a flamethrower to come deal with the light smell of ass emanating from next door. I don't know what's going on, just fucking deal with it.
I love it.
It's like most of what cops do is stand around all day, and half the time they're dealing with people with mental illness. They're called because someone's taking a dump in a fountain or something, and half of that time they shoot the guy. Like,
it's not good.
We should have a mental health hotline you call, and people could show up and deal with mental health problems.
That would be awesome.
They could have a little Ghostbuster mobile with a light on the top.
Perfect. I love it.
Yeah, I like those topics where no politician is ever allowed to even possibly touch them with a 10-foot pole, because it's like we are not allowed to discuss the idea that maybe about 80-90% of what our police do should not be done by police. It just inserts them into their lives. Into our lives. And the real reason that police are everywhere is it's twofold. One is to protect the property of the wealthy, and two is to perpetrate the completely illegal drug war, which is a war against our own citizens, and has locked up more people than any country around the world. So, we're never allowed to discuss the fact that this is insane and has created a prison state in our country, which now, of course, is being rampaged by a virus. It's just, this is a topic that's incredibly important, and most politicians won't get near it.
No, and most even newscasters and whatnot won't get near it. So you're making it accessible to people, and for that I thank you. Lee's new book, Bullet Points and Punchlines, is out. Get it now wherever fine books are found. On Amazon.
LeeCampBook.com is the best place.
LeeCampBook.com, and also the stand-up comedy special, Not Allowed on American TV. I'm watching it on YouTube, so it's free now. But Lee, is there a place that you would suggest people go?
Oh, it just directs them to the YouTube link, but it's LeeCampAmerican.com was the easiest thing to remember, and the TV show Redacted Tonight is also at LeeCamp.com.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate it. You're watching.
Thank you, Juliana.
act.tv. I've been here with comedian Lee Camp, comedian and friend Lee Camp. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We bring you up to, 10 interviews with really important people every week. So find us here. Thank you so much. Thanks again, Lee. I appreciate it. And we're going to keep following your work, and hopefully you'll join us again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Juliana.
It's really nice to see you, just on a personal level, too.
I know. I'm glad you're doing such awesome stuff. That's great.
Yeah. Okay. Talk to you soon, Lee. Bye.